I just wanted to ask you, when you talked about, I'm a believer. Everybody needs help sometime. And you were such a strong testimony to that. So when you went back at that 10-year mark, what made the community kitchen, the Chicago's community kitchen, different? Why were they able to help you in that 10-year mark as opposed to the other places that you look for help? What is it that made that whole thing work?
I believe what made it work is, again, the mentorship, the resources, and they never left me alone. You know, a lot of places, they say, here you go. They're the tools, but they don't follow through. And so I've kept a great relationship with them. They check in with me, see how I'm doing, see how my family's doing. They've provided resources such as job initiatives. Whenever employers like myself contact the depository for applicants, they call and they reach out and they help you with your resume. It was just so much more. It was almost like it's like being a family.
And how many people go, how large is this community kitchen? How many people go through there?
Kate could answer that.
So since the program began in 1998, we've actually successfully graduated 1,200 people from the program, and we are very proud of the fact that in the last year alone, 90% of the graduates have jobs.
That's awesome. That's so great. Well, we'll be in touch from the neighbor state of Indiana up there, but thank you so much for what you're talking about today. And Mr. Webb, I wanted to also thank you for being here. And we've worked with you really on both sides. When I was involved in feeding people in Eastern Europe and international food, we obviously knew very much about Feed the Children, and you're in my district as well in,
yes, thank you.
In Elkhart, Indiana. So I appreciate you being here as well. But you guys had visited my office not too long ago, some of your colleagues, talking about actually talking to the USDA and being contacted by the USDA to say, hey, you're the professional food feeders, can you come in here and even just kind of talk about, standards, efficiency, ways to streamline, and you mentioned how sometimes it's easier to do this in other countries than here. Can you just kind of talk about that and just kind of elaborate on what are some of the obstacles here? And you mentioned the one fund that, potentially could be used for that, but how do you see this issue of being able to come in, even as just a third-party advisor to a gigantic organization like the USDA and say, hey, here's what best practices we use here and that kind of thing?
Thank you for the question, Congressman. So one of the approaches that we have is that, again, from the international perspective, we see that there are multiple layers to the issue. So we have developed this relationship with USDA where we bring to them programming from the international community that has yielded results there that we think could be best practices here. One example of that is a care group model that we have internationally. And what that does is that it looks to promote health in communities by first taking the approach that there are existing assets in those communities already, and rather than us coming from Oklahoma City to Malawi or to Tanzania or to any community in the United States, that we need to understand the dynamics of what's taking place in the community. So we conduct formative research, we understand what the health indicators are in those communities, we identify what the barriers might be to better health, to accessing programs, and we try to understand who's overcoming those barriers and how. Then we build out a curriculum with the community, and we enlist a team of volunteers to educate the community on what we're doing. So there's been a local buy-in, and we've seen some improvement in those areas, and programs like that are very attractive to the USDA because of the community presence and because of the fact that we're leveraging those existing assets. Sorry.
Let me ask you just one, we're going to be out of time here, but if this committee could do one thing, just one, if there was one thing we could do that would allow you to better connect with our program as it is right now, what would you suggest, or what would one issue be that we could help?
We really believe that innovation funding that would allow organizations to work more collaboratively together would be the solution. To address your question and Congressman Scott's question, in New Orleans and other food deserts, we're looking to build social enterprises that provide food access like a grocery store, and parts of their social service elements around those grocery stores that address education, the care group model I just described, provide health. But the issue is that trying to get things off the ground takes resources. I mean, private funding doesn't always get us to the point we can make that successful.
Gotcha. I appreciate it. Thanks, Mr. Chairman.